From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Knapsack.
I'm Jen Landa.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And we're here for our look at Star Wars news. Breaking news from a long time ago. We got two big stories. We got actual news to catch up on from last week and things that broke in the later part of the week. And we're excited to have you all here for that. As always, we want to remind you what the show is sponsored by, which today is a little new. The podcast is brought to you by our own shop on Fourth Wall. That's right. Check out our merch store and pick up a t-shirt to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. More items, which will include, but is not limited to, pint glasses, coffee mugs, and hats will be added soon. So head on over to forcecenter.shop.fourthwall.com or check the links in the description box on YouTube below. Again, that's forcecenter.shop.fourthwall.com and pick up some ForceCenter merch. We've had that TeePublic store, which still exists, but Fourth Wall is a little bit better for what we're looking to do with merch here. So that is the first part of our, we can't say A's anymore. First part of our,
No.
I guess it's kind of an ask.
Yeah, our FAA.
Our FAA. Our FAA.
Yeah, sure. Our notes still say Audible intro.
They do. That's what tripped me up there.
Anyway, and maybe we'll still recommend a book at the top of every show, but frankly, Fourth Wall is better for us. It's doing better for us. I did some of the books, and Fourth Wall is where it's at right now.
Yes, you did the books about the books. Yes, but that's one of our asks, but we're also looking over on Patreon for things too as well.
That is right. We are building to 430 paid patrons. When we reach that goal, we're going to release a classic episode of Star Wars Ranked, and Jennifer is going to add new and exciting visuals to the audio. Which classic episode? We have no idea. We will figure that out to see which one is the most exciting to have images added to. We probably won't pick that I think 90-minute to 2.5 hour compilation we did of our we ranked our favorite things about each prequel film, and then you mash them into a super episode that's 87 hours long. Probably not that one, but besides that, the sky is blue.
That's 1,000 paid supporters, and then Jen will take 3 months to work with me on getting that going. No, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of Blue Sky, you can follow us on Blue Sky. We're trying to be a little bit more active over there. I was going to go on a Blue Sky rant, but I'm not. I enjoy Blue Sky, and if you do, please join us over there. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us there. We crossed 10,000 a while ago, and we are still building, and we can see some new folks giving the show a shot. So thank you for that, and please like, subscribe, and hit whatever other buttons that they have invented that I don't know about yet. Can you become the mayor of a show like old Foursquare days? I don't know. But those buttons should all be pressed, right, Ken?
Press all the buttons. Yeah. The only thing that's kind of new is there's that new community ranking, which is, I'm trying to even find where to turn it on or off. I don't even know. Just suddenly, if you're in a live show, you get a ranking. You get a little crown if you're the number one fan. I don't even know what that means, but everyone is equal here in our fandom, so I don't know. We're going to get to some life adventures, and in that, we're going to have information on an organization that you might want to support with a lot of the stuff going on, particularly right now in LA, but that is certainly not the only place in our country where this stuff is happening or is maybe even about to happen. So on that note, hi, Jen. How are you?
Good. Well, I mean, okay. It's been very interesting. I've had a lot of friends and family checking in to see how I'm holding up. And I mean, to be honest, as there's a lot of protests happening around the city, I have not experienced or seen any of it. I've been so focused on being with my kids. You know, there's school activities. I played in a basketball game with some other moms and our kids. And it's really weird because you drive around where I am, and I'm in the heart of LA.
Close, yeah.
And it's like it's peaceful. It's like literally it's been quiet, and I live in the city. It's been like almost eerily quiet. And then I look on social media, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a lot happening. So just know that the way that things are trying to be painted and presented, that we are, all this stuff is happening and people need to come in and take, have law and order. It's like, no, we're good. we can handle
Mhm.
this. We're doing just fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know, where do we want to go with this?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that because I know it happens that there people see photos. There was a photo of photographers at, a pretty mild, legal American protest. Like, hey, that's the whole American deal of say your piece. But there's a photo of a bunch of photographers taking a photo of like one trash can that had fallen over and was lightly on fire, and this army of photographers framing everything from this one little vantage point that makes it look like everything
Mm,
is exploding. And it isn't that
mhm,
that there wasn't protests in Los Angeles. There were protests, but
mhm.
even the LAPD put out a press release saying they were largely peaceful.
Mm.
Yep.
And there was conflict. A lot of that conflict, in my opinion, is escalation of the police and the government. So it isn't that there aren't protests. There are. It's
Mhm.
America. People are speaking their mind. Um, and I think it really riles me, the attempt to portray that the entire city is in chaos. There were
Mhm.
obviously large protests in my hometown of Minneapolis when George Floyd was murdered. And that talking point remained for years, that the entire city was burned down. It's a
Mm.
weird, annoying talking point to me, and I hate to see it start to happen in Los Angeles as well, and in particular, the president putting out ridiculous, over the top. There's been an invasion.
Mm,
The city
mhm.
is occupied, and I look out my window like people are watching their dogs. They're going to Pride. They're eating ice cream. Uh, there's no invasion. They're neighbors.
Yeah.
Those people are neighbors. No invasion, no occupation. The Jedi are not taking over. It's the same hyperbole and BS.
Mm.
It's lies.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mm.
I went to a nice dance show in a public park last night, and nothing was on fire. It was beautiful.
Mm.
Not even a Waymo? That's good. That's a good,
No.
that's a good day to go.
Mm.
Yeah, right there with both the. It is unsettling and quiet in some ways, and information getting out and good information. There's some stuff going on there, but I'm with you both to watch. And I'm not. I know a lot of people have made this comparison, and I think it's a good one, but I don't want it to be make the whole situation seem lighter. But we just all watched Andor season 2, and a lot of people were referring to that and Gorman and all that kind of stuff. To watch it play out in this kind of tragically, I'll say, comical fashion of Hexteth
Mhm.
and Trump and all these folks talking, as you said, Joseph. The invasion has begun, and cut to the one trash can. Cut to a car on fire because ICE agents put a tear gas canister too close to it. It caught on fire. I don't know all the details of that, to be clear, but like, it's like, are we all seeing this? And I think for the most part, yeah, protests begin one way and they might end up another way. Totally, we've all been through that. That's not even happening here. And there's been this great call for, hey, I won't say restraint, but just like be aware of what they're trying to do, right? Be aware of what
Mhm.
the game that's being played. And I think for the most part, that's the case. And I myself had to leave town on Saturday, and I was driving down. And you don't see. I saw one weird helicopter that I wouldn't normally see around here. Not news, not police. Something like okay. And then I was on the 710 freeway, not to turn this into a Californian sketch. And at the Alondra off ramp, I saw about 40 CHP officers, mostly bored, collecting T-bone overtime, just sitting there checking their phones, and about 30 people on overpass. Just down the other way was a bigger part of what was going on Saturday, and it delayed me for 30 seconds on the freeway. That's what's going on. That's what's being turned into send in the troops. And it's frustrating, it's scary, and we're all concerned of the big picture. But I agree with you, Joseph and Jennifer. Like that's the truth of what's going on right now. Trash cans,
Mhm.
Waymos, and
Mhm.
maybe we should light Waymos on fire, anyways. Like,
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
there's one organization we wanted to highlight. Like I said, our friend Laser put something out that we all kind of saw, and we wanted to highlight it. Is an organization called cluejustice.org. If you want to support the Detained Immigrant Bond Fund, go to cluejustice.org/bond. Keep people here, keep families together, help with due process, help with people getting access to counsel. we're seeing that. I think more than anything, this is a personal take for me of everything going on. It's just the erasure of due process that is frightening me. It is people being yanked out of work as we're told that these people are a drain on our society. They don't contribute to it, so they use their tax records to find them at their jobs and yank them out. There's all that kind of stuff going on, but we want to highlight again that organization, cluejustice.org/bond if you want to support there.
Yeah, and I think it is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please, you.
I think it is important to highlight that people are being denied due process, and that is a violation that goes against being in this country. My husband's organization, publiccounsel.org, they sent attorneys down to the federal building downtown where people are being detained, and they were turned away. They are pro bono lawyers who were turned away so that the detainees could not have access to counsel. And that is really what sparked these protests. That's why people are fighting, right? It's infuriating seeing a video of a man down the street at the donut shop going to pick up a donut, and two ICE agents come literally out of the bushes and just pounce him and take him away. That's it. That's it. I mean, it's just horrific. So yeah.
And courts have already ruled this shouldn't be happening. So this is this isn't about, we're defending criminals. We don't know if they're criminals because we have due process to find that out. And that is what is being denied them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well said. Well said. And as always, Star Wars and the real world come colliding together often. And though we love to come here to talk Star Wars and how Star Wars reflects the real world, often the real world takes precedent, and it's on our minds and hearts as we dive into the news today. So there you go. Next up, some Star Wars news. Hey, but also, protect yourself too, and have your hobbies, feed your squirrels. The world is quite a challenging place. But all right, here we go again, everybody, and I mean that in a good way. Star Wars movie casting news. I like this. This is nostalgic, and it's a good kind of nostalgia for me. Starfighter, as in Jedi Starfighter, gets a villain. The Hollywood Reporter, Boris Kitt, and I know there's always a debate of who scoops this first and this and that and who gives credit. We don't want to wade into those waters, but I think Hollywood Reporter confirmed a story that had been out there. Like I said, it's feeling like 2014 all over again. It was reported and is being reported that Mia Goth has been cast in the upcoming Star Wars Starfighter. There is no Jedis that we know of yet. Star Wars Starfighter. She'll be played a villain of maybe many or multiple villains opposite Ryan Gosling, of course, whose character is said to be protecting his nephew from their evil pursuers. This was a role that Oscar winner, is it Mikey or Mickey? I'm sorry, I'm an old boomer now.
I think it's Mikey.
Mikey Madsen.
I thought it was Mikey.
Yeah. Award winner. Yeah. I should put respect on that name. Mikey Madsen had recently turned down this role. That was a report. The film goes into production this fall, and we should say Lucasfilm has no comment on the story, which is par for the course and understandable. But we'll start there. Jen, thoughts on Mia Goth joining Star Wars?
This is a hole for me. I do not watch horror movies. Nothing really scary enters my mind. So I try to prevent that. But I know of her, and I know people who know her work love her. Like, she has a very passionate fan base, which I think is really, really neat. And I like that she gravitates towards horror projects. She's also, I feel, mysterious as a personality, which I think in this day and age is kind of unusual with social media. I really like that because it just kind of lends itself to her being able to play any type of character, because I personally don't know much about her. But of course, naturally, my mind went to, a Sith-like character. We don't know if there's going to be Sith or whatnot. But I'm excited. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. Part of the fun speculation to come here. Yeah. Mia Gypsy Mello da Silva Goth is her name listed here. I know.
It only gets better.
It only gets better. Yeah. I'm with you. I know the name. I don't watch horror myself, which is why we turn to our horror expert, Joseph Scrimshaw.
So I can only help a little bit on this one. I have seen Mia Goth in Emma, not a horror movie.
That's right.
A Jane Austen film.
That's right.
Oh, she was in Emma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
but she, is in this trilogy of Ty West horror films, which are kind of people have up and down opinions about which one's the best, but in general, I think it was kind of a revolutionary way those films were shot and released, and a lot of it all kind of hanging on her and elevated her to this level of stardom. So, I mean, part of this for me, I really like it because it's just a triumph for horror. We talk constantly, and we'll talk more about how this is a weird time for Hollywood. Like, not horror.
Right.
Horror's doing fine. Everything from small indies to kind of bigger explosions of success, like these the X films that Mia Goth stars in. I do hope that she's a primary villain. Because she's getting cast, it's a bigger name. They went after a recent Oscar Award winner in Mikey Madison. Between Mia Goth and Mikey Madison, if there were a bunch of other people, if like Maya Hawke was also in the mix that they went after, you could just be like, oh, cool, they're going after, big names on the rise, young women. They went after two scream queens. They went after, I do know Mikey Madison better. She's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She is in the Scream film that is technically Scream 5, but they just called it Scream again to confuse people. And she obviously won the Oscar for Nora and all that, but they both have a vibe. They're both like a little bit out of the mainstream, intense. I know that almost any time that there's a woman who is not absolutely stereotypically normal, fans could go, Night Sister. But it does seem, if you tried to cast Mikey Madison and then went to Mia Goth, that you're looking for someone who's a little witchy, a little bit of a, I'm not saying Night Sister, but man, wouldn't that be a great dynamic if it is Starfighter? It's about pilots. It's Ryan Gosling. We got jokes. We got Han Solo scoundrel type being chased by, just really intense, witchy character would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. This isn't a comment on a actress's appearance so much as just this genre, the aesthetic, the aura that you're talking about it, and I agree with you on that both these kind of casting choices kind of invite that fun speculation with them maybe, and I'm with you too. I really do like the idea of a villain, a female lead villain, leaning into that in ways maybe we haven't before. And it's just interesting. This is we'll talk about it a little bit more here, but it's kind of I'd say a buzz name within the film community, Mia Goth, right? And I think that's kind of fun. So good start there, but we do have a little bit of details to talk about. Again, really, really taking us back to 2014, where did you see Adam Driver was in an X-Wing outfit? They caught him on set. Thoughts on the small amount of plot details that we now know? Not necessarily all of it revealed here, but I was talking to some other friends this weekend, and we were all kind of like, I think this is the first time we've heard this idea of a nephew. I think we knew there was a younger person involved. I think that came out of Celebration, 15-year-old, 16-year-old range, a teenager. But putting it all together, nephew, pursuers that are considered evil, and of course, as we knew, 5 years after the rise of Skywalker. Jen, any reaction there to the small amount of plot details?
Yeah, 15. That is interesting. Okay, because mine went for nephew like maybe 10, but 15 is good because
I'm not saying that as a fact too. That's just kind of a conversation thing that came out of even something I was talking about this week when it was a couple friends. So someone could correct me, but
it is a big difference, right? Like if you have a 15-year-old, like the dialogue, the tone can be a little bit darker and more adult. If you have a 10-year-old, it's going to have to stay a little bit, kid friendly, right? So at least in my mind, or like more like a Skeleton Crew, right? Which, I mean, it could very well be, but I kind of feel like just from the casting of Mia Goth that it's not going to be. And evil pursuers is such a specific choice of words. Like we've heard, Force users. We've heard obviously Sith or like, I don't know. I feel like this is the first time I've heard this. And I'm like, they're being very, very cryptic. But I love the idea that it could be witches, Night Sisters. I had not even thought of that. That would be fantastic. Could this be their moment to shine in live action? Besides Ahsoka, I don't know.
Yeah. And it could risk repetition if they are featured. It seems like they're going to be featured prominently in Ahsoka season 2.
Right. Okay.
But I love how much the Acolyte opened things up. Even spending some time on screen in the Tales of the Jedi with the Mountain Clan Night Sisters. But also, I just feel like Star Wars has been reminding us again and again of like there's billions upon billions of planets, so this could be something entirely different. I really want 15 or older. I shouldn't have said it that way, so it can't be taken out of context. I flinched a little when I heard this description, because I think we're risking Star Wars and in culture of overdoing the roguish male figure must protect a young person. Obviously, that is the heart and soul of the Mandalorian and Grogu. It's kind of Bad Batch. It was kind of the Kenobi show protecting Leia. It's The Last of Us. There was another one that was Skeleton Crew. It's a little bit of a different
in Asajj. We just saw the Tales of in
Asajj, and it's a golden story, and it's great. But man, I would love Ryan Gosling is old enough. Give him a 22-year-old nephew. I would much rather or an 18. I would much rather a young adult taking their first step into the world and screwing up. I want it to be more a story of hey, I know I come from this kind of good family, but I went to this Force planet and did something real disrespectful and stole something, and now they are on me. And with my uncle who's like, this is why you don't go to cultures you don't know and get into some weird deal with them. I would love it if it was much more of a hey, my adult nephew effed up at college, and I got to get him out of this, and it makes a little bit more of a road trip movie than a Lone Wolf and Cub, which we've had a lot of.
Yeah, and that's kind of where a lot of stories have been, and with good effect, right? And great. I think there's so many. Road to Perdition comes to mind, which I don't think I've even seen, but I just remember Tom Hanks and a youngster. It's there, but I like what you're both getting to, and Joseph, what you're saying is really intriguing to me. The idea of it's not quite Uncle Buck, but who knows what Gosling is? Who knows what position his life is? What kind of starfighter he is or could be again? And someone that has already taken first steps is interesting to me. That this is second steps maybe too. This is oopsies, or it's a person of importance. Maybe they're not naive and wide-eyed. Maybe they've got some particular set of skills that these evil pursuers need. And also, by the way, the evil pursuers open up for Fear in 1980 at a punk show, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I do think it's a good framework for the story, and it can go a lot of different directions. We're just having fun speculating here, a far point out. But yeah, I'm with you. Too. I don't even think, even as a Star Wars fan who's in the weeds and loves all these shows, until this bit of news came out, and I was discussing it offline with some friends this weekend, I hadn't really even pulled back and thought just how many times that's been in Star Wars here recently. And I don't say that negatively. Love Kenobi. Love Mando. Love everything. Skeleton Crew might be one of my favorite things out there as well, if you want me to rank things. But it made me think of I don't know. New Hope is Luke ain't a baby, right? Leia ain't a baby. These are older, mature teenagers. But I like that vibe to maybe come back.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 12-year-olds of the world were hooked by 19-year-old and 22-year-old. I think at the time, according to his star card. Anyway,
good old star cards.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Jen, starting with you here on this? We know the framework 5-ish years after the rise of Skywalker. Does that lead you to think anything? Obviously, at some point, there's going to be, for right now, it's us, the discussion of Force and Force-sensitive kid or anything like that. Not out of place in the Star Wars story, so that could be something there, too. But any thought of that 5 years after time period?
I appreciate it. It's a clean slate, right? I feel like they're trying to make it clear, at least Sean Levy keeps saying, like, it's not a sequel. It's basically a standalone. And I think we're going to start hearing them say, you don't need to know much about Star Wars canon to be able to enjoy this film. I think we're going to start getting that, which I like. All right, let's do something fresh and new and keep it kind of away from everything, but still have those connections and canon things that we're gonna find. But maybe you don't have to know to appreciate it, or do a cliff notes before you go watch the film.
Yeah, for me, that like there's a chance for this movie to do what it needs and wants to do on a big theatrical scale that's also smaller in the sense of what's happening is tremendously important to these characters. This nephew could have the key to the galaxy in the future. Could be something like that. That's Star Wars. It's big. It's epic. I get that. But taking it down to whatever Gosling's character is trying to accomplish won't necessarily save or destroy the galaxy. It could be something that intrigues me in that regard, where it's just like, you know what I mean, Joseph? Like, we got this little we got 5 years, we got this big field, but we got here this fun story.
Yeah, and I think that that Lucasfilm, I'm sure, will have done a good job of sort of defining what's the general state of the galaxy. Is the government kind of in disarray? Are bounty hunters rampant? Are there parts of the galaxy where like little first order fringes still control, or whatever that is, to give it sort of context? But other than that, I think Star Wars has done such a good job of showing how big the galaxy is, and even that there are other galaxies, that I feel like you can tell a personal story with high stakes to these people and not spend the whole time going like, well, but if Rey has a Jedi Order, why isn't she running in and fixing everything? It's like, because it's a big galaxy and billions of people are having adventures just like this one right now.
Yeah. And look, it could, the final shot could be them showing up to New Jedi Academy, grand opening weekend. Hi, I'm Administrator Rey. It could, and it'd be fun. But I like the little morsels of plot we're getting are fun, and I'm looking forward to that. Final big point of this conversation we touched on a little bit earlier. When I was a big name is Ryan Gosling right now, because who is? All right, he's Ken. Mia Goth is the name on the rise. You mentioned that, Joseph, I think correctly. How do we feel about this movie seemingly grabbing some known names, which again isn't Gosling, but the Gosling casting created a lot of conversations here and other places on a, quote, big name joining Star Wars. This is, to me, a name, even though it's smaller scale and there's going to be a general audience that gets to know her through this. But that's, I'll say, something slightly different, Joseph, than the past. Yeah?
Yeah. And I think, with the sequels, there was kind of a mix. John Boyega had been making a little bit of a name for himself, and certainly Oscar Isaac, and Daisy Ridley was far more unknown. Yeah. I wish we could still have the days of 1977 where it's mostly unknowns. Anyway, but this is pretty close for the modern era to say, like, okay, films need the blockbusters need as much safety built in, especially as Star Wars is kind of stumbling its way back to the box office, making its way back to the box office. So having Ryan Gosling anchor it, and then having somebody like Mia Goth, who is a superstar in the horror world, but my grandma probably hasn't heard of her, kind of thing, is, I think, a happy medium for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even going after, a fresh Oscar winner, fresh off an Oscar. Do you want to do Star Wars? And it didn't work. This is talking about Mikey Madison, and the reports are it had to do with money, the contract, nothing necessarily related to the franchise. But that shows that they're, I think, taking big swings in casting for these modern times, for these returns to the theaters. We have Mandalorian and Grogu before, but we almost know nothing of that cast, right? And there's, chance for known names to show up like Sigourney Weaver. But this is to me, I like the strategy as we head into a new era of film, Jen, where we're going out and getting some people and bringing them into the franchise because we know what they can do, and maybe the audience does too.
Yeah, I think that Mikey Madison might have brought a little bit more buzz to the film, than Mia Goth. However, she is going to be in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe mainstream audiences might get to know her more.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a really weird time in movies, because back in the day, if you had a celebrity or a big actor attached to a movie, it would just automatically do well. People don't really care about that as much nowadays, so it's kind of funny that now Star Wars is doing that. I think the most important thing nowadays for movies, unless Lilo and Stitch, obviously, like it's like everyone knows Lilo and Stitch, right? So you're going to get that base audience. Word of mouth is key to longevity at the box office, is key to having record numbers. People are going to go and see it because it's Star Wars, and they're like, oh, Ryan Gosling, and I know that person, right? But at the end of the day, if it's not a good movie, it's going to peter out. And it's just the way that it is, because there's so much other competition. People can watch anything on their phones or screens or computers, or playing video games like Roblox. People don't have to spend all that money to go see a movie unless it's good.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I believe it was Mike Flanagan and or Stephen King, or both of them, who were just this new film, Life of Chuck, that's coming out, basically saying, hey, thanks to Tom Hiddleston and Mark Hamill, because they were on board with it, but our entire marketing plan is let those two super famous guys do a lot of interviews, which is why we're seeing various fun Mark Hamill quotes pop up. And I think it's fascinating to me that casting these people is about star power and talent. Let's not forget that, acting talent, but also like who's super charming on the circuit, and who's going to be like, Mia Goth said, what? I'll click on this story on, Instagram. So I think there's also some wisdom in who are they picking based on who's going to be an ambassador of the film, and maybe a little bit of the Jon Favreau playbook of let's cross-pollinate of, even Mikey Madison with the Oscar win. Honora's, heralded for being an indie film, so that's trying to pull in the indie fans. I think there are some people who will check out this movie because Mia Goth is in it, who are horror fans who might otherwise give it a pass. So I think there's wisdom in that too.
Yeah, remember back in '99 they pulled in an indie actor, a little Scottish guy named Ewan, that brought him on in here. I do want to acknowledge here too, I didn't take a deep dive into it, but I could just see maybe comments coming up of, I do understand there's some stuff around Mia Goth. There was a lawsuit from an extra, which A24 defended her, and I don't know the details of it. So I'm just saying, I get there's some of that too. I just, again, for better or worse, I don't think that's known on a level that would currently affect the project, because we're talking about general audiences here. And again, I'm not super aware of it. I just, in doing the story, I saw some stuff, and I think I'd heard some of it. I just didn't connect it with her. But that's out there too. So in case anyone wants to bring it up, we get it, we hear it, we acknowledge it. All right, final thoughts here, Jen? Mia Goth?
Yeah, Joseph, you're right. Marketing is the key nowadays. And, these funny videos on Instagram, people are tasting foods and whatever. Like, honestly, that stuff works. It works. And people are like, oh, like, remember the Wicked press tour? Like, I mean, obviously you're going to get, Wicked is huge, but like their dynamic was so fun in interviews. I was already going into the movie rooting for them. Like, it's really, really, that's what this is about nowadays. Marketing.
Yeah. I don't have the expertise to completely weigh in it, but I'm one of those people that sometimes gets frustrated with the influencer culture, and and it's like, could you imagine Sir Laurence Olivier going in, what hot sauce is this on this wing I'm having? I don't understand. Like, but what you're talking about, Jen, is at the core, it's about personality. And that's why that stuff kind of rose, for better or worse. And there's a lot of worse. And there's a lot of things on the red carpets I don't like to see, and a lot of the games and the pranks and some unqualified people. But with that, you have what you're talking about. The reason spicy wing shows work is because you're seeing a personality with hot sauce smeared all over their face, crying just like you, and it really does work. It really does work, unfortunately. So.
And it isn't entirely new. I mean, there's an influencer culture of it, but like there's, I can't remember the famous journalist who hosted it, of let me see inside your house, and you would interview Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby in their houses, and Frank Sinatra one is great because the house is brand new and he hasn't really moved in. He's like, I got a TV, but actually I have to go now. I have a recording too. Like it isn't
Yeah.
new. It's just supercharged in that it is the way that movies are promoted.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. I think sometimes it's incorrect to completely blame it on influencers who are just being invited to these things. But yeah, hell, even Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, which we grow up
Yes.
in that era, was there too. Yeah, good stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a veneer before, though. That's the difference, right? That now people are craving the authenticity, even though the authenticity is oftentimes manufactured. These people are actors; they know how to play. Like, of course, some people just can't help themselves, and they are who they are. But like, Jennifer Lawrence knows what she's doing. Do I think that she's like that in person? Probably. She's probably really fun to hang out with, but she knows she can amp it up a little bit, and her memes from the hot ones are so good. Like she's like grind.
What do you mean?
What do you
mean? What do you mean?
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I do feel bad for actors who are just like, I just want to act. I don't want to eat hot sauce. Yeah.
The true test, if it's authentic, is can you get Tommy Lee Jones to smile? I wish she was still out on the circuit regularly. You want me to eat this hot wing? Why do you want me to eat this hot wing? Yes, there we go. Well, there you go. Mia Goth, part of the cast, at least as far as reports. Again, Lucasfilm hasn't confirmed. Who knows? We got that dance to look forward to. But I for one, am kind of excited that we got some bona fide movie news to discuss as we head towards 2026 and 2027. All right. Speaking of business and returning to theaters and people making big choices, this is another nostalgic story in a way. Filoni and Beck, co-heir apparents to Kathleen Kennedy. Stop if you've heard us talk about this before. The Hollywood Reporter's Peter Kiefer put out an article, which I read and was interested in, covering the succession wars going on various studios in the industry. It's time of transition right now. And amongst the captivating tale of Hollywood bigwigs' lust for power and position was just a paragraph about Lucasfilm most likely looking to internal choices to replace Kathleen Kennedy. The options appeared to be a tag team of Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni. Here's the paragraph here. If my eyes work, boy, I'm getting old fast. Lucasfilm seems likely to follow that path, talking about Sony, and some of their internal choices coming their way. Lucasfilm seems likely to follow that path in replacing Kennedy, despite speculation about outside candidates, including former 20th Century head Emma Watts. Insiders say the company seems most likely to promote from within. The current thinking is a scenario where Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni and production head Carrie Beck, both Lucasfilm vets, take co-head roles. Even as an arm of Disney, Lucasfilm remains in many ways a family business, and as a Lucas protege, Filoni long has been considered a golden boy, but the knock against him is that he might be too steeped in Star Wars lore and risk steering a show into dense mythology that loses a broader audience. He's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy, says one Disney insider, said Bob Chapek. Beck, who joined the company in 2012, knows the ins and outs, but neither she nor Filoni has much film experience, which could be mitigated by Kennedy's continued presence as a producer in certain Star Wars projects, ensuring a quality control in the short term. So, all right, once more. Here we go again. First thoughts, Jen, on the story and the headline here in 2025.
I live for these kinds of
there you go.
exposés. Oh my gosh, that was
great. It was a great article.
It's a great article, and I had just finished listening to, you must remember this, the podcast. She did a whole series on MGM, and it's so fascinating to kind of see the similarities, right, with the different studio heads and executives, and how nowadays people don't want to let go. They're not retiring like they used to, and they're like coming back, like Bob Iger. You can't get rid of them. So yeah, it's interesting. There was a mention about like 40-something-year-olds who were like, "What happened to my career?" That was really interesting. But I digress. I feel like all of this has been bubbling over the past few years, not just with Kathleen Kennedy, but all the executives that were mentioned. And it's Disney. It's huge. Even though Lucasfilm is kind of like its own little thing, it is a part of Disney, and it is big, big money. And there's a lot at stake, and they want to get it right.
Yeah, they do. Joseph.
Yeah, I agree. I skimmed the article and enjoyed it very much. It's fascinating. And I also think like the success of the show Succession made people even more aware of the sort of the dynamics that can go on. I think compared to other things that are being discussed in the article, I think Lucasfilm is in a better position than a lot of other companies, that they have some internal candidates who make sense. One of the other things that I liked about the article is how much it focused on this strange moment in Hollywood. The older people not wanting to retire or coming back, like Bob Iger, and the sometimes I think lack of mentoring people into these positions so that they are prepared to go there. The article also spends a lot of time saying it's a brutal game, and hey, 40-year-olds, get your knives out and fight for it, which they're not doing, allegedly, according to this article. Does that sound like a peaceful job? But also just the general instability of Hollywood, of like, it isn't, I think people taking the reins now, the question isn't, hey, we're in this direction, we're moving there, can you hold the reins and make sure that we keep going in this direction? It's, make up the new direction. Outside of making art / entertainment that makes money, that's the real big picture goal. Outside of that, what are the goals? What are the metrics? What is Disney's vision of success for Lucasfilm, other than you made things and they made money? But specifically, do they want to continue to conquer streaming? Do they want Star Wars to be a big blockbuster movie? Do they want the buffet, like a lot of fans do, of like, we want lots of Star Wars, we want it to be different from one another? And I think that question of what's the goal? What's the job? If this is Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, not Beck the singer, what are they trying to accomplish other than just keeping the wheels on Star Wars?
Yeah. Yeah. What is the job? And if they're doing it together, you said something there. I'd like to just kind of carve a new path. There was one little thing in the article I thought was interesting. I'm not an expert on this. I've watched one season of The Studio, and the player, Robert Altman's player. I don't know anything here, but I love the player. But the idea of like, a lot of these studios and even companies overall view that if you have to go outside for your new CEO, it's a bit of a failure. It's an admission of failure, that things weren't working. So if there's truly a vote of confidence in them, we're going to talk about reservations and if it could work from a purely speculative fan point of view. As we like to say around here, we're not in these meetings, but if just reading the article, reading the lust for power that must be fostered within your soul to work in this industry, if this truly happens and it truly passes all the tests and all the boards and all the stockholders, anyone who's got power over this decision, then that gives me confidence that it's the right thing. And yes, I know Human Thumb Bob Chapek did not work out, but that's a whole documentary I'm waiting to see. And maybe he didn't have the right help and blah blah blah. I don't know again, but that's my general take on this. When you read this and you're like, this giant article, which is going into the weeds on what's going on in this town, and if that's the decision that these two pretty much almost lifetime employees who are from the family days for the most part, Carrie might have been on the cusp. I don't know what month in 2012 she started. That to me is its own burst of confidence for me as a fan, if that makes sense. So, Jen, you're on the block here. Do we think Filoni and Beck, a new dynamic characters welcome USA show, will work with Kathleen sticking around to produce? As she had said in the past, and I know the rumors are she might retire, and I think the article touches upon it, right? I think she might retire shortly after Iger retires. But as she has said in the past, like,
so never.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, when I say retire, I should be step down from her role and continue making movies and art. If she's around as kind of to borrow the baseball kind of analogy, if she's the old grizzled bench coach for the new manager who's young and hip and got some new ideas but needs to know the ropes a little bit, could that work?
Here's what I think. I think we need Jon Favreau. And the reason why, which I don't think he's going to do it. But the reason why, number one, he's a quote unquote veteran of movies. the biggest thing that I see all these studios are going to be grappling with is technology, not just AI, virtual reality. Technology is moving very, very fast, and the studios are going to be scrambling to catch up or figure out how to embrace it, because audiences are already like starting to pay for these subscriptions and, whether we like it or not, use AI to make videos. Influencers are already using AI to license their likeness and make money. So studios are going to have to figure out the ethics of that, and how do they embrace it and work with it. You need somebody who understands technology. And I think Jon Favreau really does. I mean, look at what he did with The Lion King and with the volume, all these things. You need somebody who's a visionary, a creative visionary, but who also can embrace the tech side. And so my pitch is Favreau. I'm sorry, but Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, I'm sure they'll be great. They'll be great.
So, somewhere Johnny Favs is sitting at a diner in Silver Lake, going, "Why's my heart hurting? Why don't,
Yeah, I don't think he wants it.
He doesn't want it. He
not
doesn't
think
want
he
it, but
wants
he's so great. It needs to be from within.
Mhm,
It does
mhm.
need to be from within.
Mhm.
I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, the AI thing is obviously a whole huge can of worms, and I agree with the idea that it's a tool, a tool to be used in specific ways. My problems with it are I don't think it is doing a job that is worth the amount of energy that it's taking. It is currently based on theft, and AI, anything generative, is based on just out and out theft. And what is happening with it to me right now is there's a huge difference between like what's a creative application that we can do morally. Like, okay, it's not based on theft. We're gonna input all of the information that we have a legal right to, and play with the generative capabilities of AI. That to me is really different than the way it is being shoved in our faces by the same about 15 billionaires who want to control every aspect of our lives. So, like, for me, it's very important to separate out in any discussion of AI. There's a big difference between like, oh, this is a tool, like the same way CGI got good enough to do water. Now that we can do water, how can we use this tool? Now that we can use AI to maybe, recreate somebody's voice, and we have a signed off right from that to James Earl Jones, let's explore if we can use that tool. To me, it just I think one of the jobs of the people leading something as large as Lucasfilm is going, let's pare it down to it's a tool, not an answer. Not we're building towards push a button and make a Star War. I think if somebody tries to do that, they're dead, because it's not as a creative tool. I think the biggest challenge for whoever's taking over, whatever happens with streaming, movies can't be disposable. And I think they're disposable right now, because they come out in the theater for 5 minutes, and then you can watch 15 minutes on your phone while you're brushing your teeth. That changes how you feel about the art. And I think whoever takes over a big movie studio needs to make movies feel special again. And pressing a button to make a generic Star Wars is not a way to make it special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's what Natasha Lyonne is doing, is she's partnered with an AI company. And like you said, they're basically world building with their own stuff, right? Their own ideas, their own art. They're putting that into the system to be able to generate this world and have it be cohesive. And they're also working with, I don't know, whatever licenses they've had. That's kind of how I would envision. So maybe like they use that to make Star Wars streaming shows, right? But then to make things quicker, it's like the volume, right? It's another thing like the volume, where they can produce it cheaper and quicker. The only problem is that then that takes away from like storyboard artists, and that takes away from all these other jobs. I mean, but as we saw with Light and Magic, like it unfortunately is just how things evolve. But I imagine Lucasfilm will know how to handle that in the right way. Although they did bring Peter Cushing back. I still struggle with that one.
Yeah. Look, you know what? For me, it's the Phil Tippett rule. Like, great. there was the innovation in CGI that they could make the dinosaurs look great. They used all of Phil Tippett's human art to
Right.
show how they moved. What's the emotion of the dinosaur? And yeah, I have to take a deep breath, Jen, because I don't want to come off like I'm being venomous towards you. I'm venomous
No.
towards the
I
concept
know.
of
Yes.
AI, because it's based on theft. It's boiling oceans, and just to use it, to apply it in a creative way, has to be so narrow focused to me to be of value, because otherwise it's just like an attack on like the soul of Star Wars. It's like, let's use the targeting computer instead of the Force. And I'm not against figuring out a way to narrowcast it, but to me it has to be used in extremely specific ways as a tool, like the way we use a hammer as a hammer, and not, hey, pay us $80 a month for your subscription, hammer, to do everything for you. Because now this is the only tool you have, and just make it work. Yeah. Anyway, sorry for the tangent.
It's as someone who uses it regularly, I'm drastically changing my views on it, but it's you're all saying truths of how we best go forward. And Jen, what you're saying is it's going to be on Filoni and Beck to decide. It's all on the man with the cowboy hat now, because Johnny Favs ain't going to touch it. But Joseph, to your question, just in terms of, or to the question, with Filoni and Beck, this idea, which by the way, it's still just a rumor. It's a rumor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion on things that we're not aware of. Again, like they don't have certain experiences in the film production world that we know of, but also, why would we think they haven't been learning that or gathering that, or the Filoni, so I'm less concerned about that. But I like this idea. If Kathy's sticking around, I'm not going to just get on a sailboat. I love this stuff. In fact, now you're telling me I don't have to worry about the paperwork as much. I can go do this. That's where I'm looking at why I think this could work if it does happen. But Joseph, any thoughts on this actual idea?
Yeah, I think the co-head thing makes a lot of sense to me, because I think my biggest question for it is, how much does Filoni want to continue personally writing and directing TV shows and films? Because I don't think that he has the bandwidth to necessarily be doing that without a partner like Carrie Beck. And specifically if Kathleen Kennedy sort of produces the next couple of films and trains up Filoni, or however much training Carrie Beck's role is a little bit more opaque to me. I don't understand it as much. I just want to give respect to the fact that she's been in the job for a long time and involved in billion-dollar hits. So I assume that she really knows what she's doing. I think there are two other elements to this job that are important to me. One is the face, just like what we were talking about with actors, where actors can't just act; they got to go on Hot Ones. I think studios like Lucasfilm are in a better position if they don't just announce something, but that the carnival barker, the face, goes out on stage. And Filoni has developed his mystique with his on-again, off-again relationship with the hat, with his with the cowboy hat, and with his shirts. And like, he's a personality, and he's known, and he can go out and he can do events and make statements and be the public figure. And then the element that I think is really important that I know nothing about is, will Filoni and Carrie Beck be able to carve out some independence from whoever takes over from Iger at Disney? Yeah, I think that's a really important part of this job, of who I think Kathleen Kennedy had enough power in a long enough relationship, specifically with Iger, to push back sometimes. And I don't know any of those dynamics. I don't know whoever's taken over Disney, but I think that's important for the head of Lucasfilm to be able to go, no, you can't release Solo in the summer of 2018. It's a bad idea. We know Star Wars, and this is a bad idea.
That was where I wanted to go to. You love where you're going there, Joseph, because these two do it, and I was sitting at the Rebels finale press event, two seats down from Filoni, by the way, but someone there was like, Carrie told me that Carrie Beck's being groomed as the heir apparent. That was 2018, whenever Rebels wrapped up. So I've no doubt they're handing her the sacred Jedi text of how to do this. But my question to both of you is any reservations, and it is that Joseph, of dare I say the old timey studio head, which we've gone, we were new era. But exactly what you're talking about. Kathleen Kennedy had not just the resume on paper, but she had the guts, the strength, the respect to get loud. Sometimes maybe literally, but to go into Bob's office upon the whatever floor there in Glendale and say no, or you were wrong, or any kind of thing. These are fictitious conversations I'm making up in my mind, I know. But we're in a new era where Filoni, despite all the convention appearances, that might actually hurt him. He's been wearing the cowboy hat less, I think, maybe because of this, because you're going to walk into a room with shareholders who are going to be like, why is a cowboy here? Who's this young cowboy guy? And I just don't know how much we need that anymore. Or am I right to think that? But when I hear you describe it, Joseph, I'm really on board with the idea of do we need kind of the big personality? And I don't know if it always works. I don't know. But it just seems like that would be lacking, not just here, but a lot of other studios. If a lot of the next generation comes in and there's someone who did work up, and these two definitely deserve it. They deserve the promotion. Mm-hmm. I definitely think they understand it. And film, yes, they might have less experience with film, but Dave's got experience with George's stories, whether we like all of his stories or not. He's sat with one of the old timers, probably still has him on speed dial. If speed dial's still a thing, I don't know. Now it's just your favorites. But you know what I mean? Like, Jen, do we need the big cigar chomping? And I'm assuming Kathy Kennedy has a cigar she chomps on. But do we need that at the top? Because I sometimes think, to what Joseph said, I think we do.
I would like to say no, but the reality is Hollywood is relationships. It is schmoozing at school, your kids' school events or extracurricular activities. I have witnessed it, and y'all, I am shocked. I'm like, oh, no wonder the average person has no freaking chance. It is so, it's not incestuous. That's not the right word, but it's so inside. And these things happen on the golf course and in over dinners and whatever. And the hobnob, and they have a shorthand. And Filoni and Beck at least are in the world of Lucasfilm, right? Mm-hmm. But Kathleen Kennedy comes from that old Hollywood guard. She has a track record. And at the end of the day, whether you're at Disney or whatever, if you have so many failures on, from your past movies, they're going to get rid of you. It's just, so I don't think, maybe with Filoni and Beck, they could demote them if things don't work out. But they don't have the kind of Teflon. You know what I mean? Yes, that Kathleen Kennedy has. You want to look at her IMDb and tell me that she does not know how to make a movie. Come on, people, right?
This is what I'm saying is purely almost fun clubhouse speculation. And again, we're so far from being experts on this, but we are around this town. But there's something we've talked about off air, Joseph. I'll carefully bring it in here. But there is. With Kathleen Kennedy, not everyone loves working for her. Not everyone thinks her decisions are perfect, but it's almost discussed in hushed tones or at parties versus loud and proud. Where I have been in situations where someone has worked with Dave and they openly snicker, and which is not a quality you could comment on Dave, but he's a peer. And Joseph, you and I have talked too. If there is this weird kind of subculture of creators in our age group or less or older who grew up Star Wars fans, and it was George that made it. And even if you didn't like George and you could, get mad at his choices, it was still George. But now that dude I went to USC is making a Star Wars film, I deserve it more than him. And now there's more of an open fighting. I'll go into your Teflon point, Jen, of, if one or two movies bomb, they might change the manager out a lot quicker than if it was someone like Kathleen Kennedy or Kathleen Kennedy. And I don't know if that factors in. I don't know, but it's just where it's at sometimes.
Yeah, I think Carrie Beck has, she's building a resume that probably looked like Kathleen Kennedy's at a similar age. Mm-hmm. So I kind of hope that in the halls of power that she's like, hey, I have the experience, I have the resume.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be pushed around. You got questions about midi-chlorians?
Right.
We talked to Dave. You got questions about budget. and whether or not this release date works, we talk to Carrie Beck.
Yeah.
The co-head thing seems to me to be about that. I do think that I do hope that one of the goals is to make the buffet go on, no matter how much Star Wars there is in movies or streaming, but that variety is important, because I think Filoni is fantastic, and I like the work that he and Favreau have done, but I think it's important to also have Andors and Acolytes and things that stretch and swing for the fences and do something different, and I think that Filoni would absolutely support that, but I think it's important that someone in his position would have to make sure that there's a variety in the buffet.
Yeah, and there's always that. Well, this article touches upon it. He's the Ahsoka guy, he's not the Andor guy. Like, he also has said, and I think it was Favreau who had said, and I think Alex and Molly mentioned this in the video watch of their news thing. Check it out, of just like that thing of Dave is not a guy who says no. So if you come to him with an idea, he doesn't go no. He goes, all right, how can we make this work? And I think that would continue in this role. He wouldn't. This is not Dave going, now I have the power. There are no Andors anymore. Like, he's not an idiot, and he loves all of it, and he wants things work. And you can't tell me anyone in those offices in Burbank or up north are not looking at what's going on with Andor and going, this is a good thing, that people are enjoying this show, that we might get awards. It's a good thing. No one's gonna crap on that from this position, or you would be fired. You couldn't be considered. I think. I don't know. Final thing for me, but also go where any places you want to all head to. This is an important story for the Star Wars franchise. I really do believe that. When I say here we go again, and it's not from a point of cynicism, but it's a repeat story, and in a weird way, I personally want the Band-Aid to be ripped off sooner than later. If Kathleen's gonna step down and go make some movies and maybe have a little weekend here and there to enjoy life a little bit, and they're gonna take over, whoever's gonna take over, as a Star Wars fan, I just kind of eventually, I'm not pushing her out, but you know what I mean, of just like, let's do this then. Let's do this. So it is an important story. But how many times do you stay awake at night, Jen, worrying about this position?
Zero. Now that I'm like, I feel so far removed from everything, that it's kind of fun to watch on the sidelines and see what's gonna happen. And then I love Star Wars. I'm always gonna tune in. I'm always gonna go to the movie theater. But I'm allowing myself like the peace to like it's okay. Like I'm a fan. I'm not in there. My job is not on the line, right? Like, if I mess up, and as much as I love Star Wars, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. I'm not putting red eyes on anyone. Let's put it that way.
That's kind of my point here, as Joseph, you take us home of yes, I do think it is important to the franchise and the ongoing brand and business that we love and we talk about every week. I don't think it's a small story. Just like I think it was a small story when George tapped Kathleen Kennedy to take over Lucasfilm for the set. Like, it's important, but we want to give it its time here, and it's going to get ears and eyes on what we talk about here, and that's part of the game we're playing too. I get it, but I too. That's kind of why I just wanted to get over with eventually, because it's like I honestly don't care. I care about what I see on screen. I care about what's on screen, and I've generally really enjoyed everything here, which causes a lot of confusion and problems with people, including a bar fight I got to Saturday night. I'll tell you all off air. But I almost mean a fight.
Conversation?
No, I almost mean a fight. I screamed at someone at a bar. I think I've lost. Wow. I think I lost some friends this weekend. But so it's important, but also not important. Like let's get on with it. I always go to sports. I love the sports talk radio. I love debating. I love effing play the game, and I'm ready for them to play the game. Joseph.
Yeah, I don't stay awake at night worrying about it. Sometimes in the middle of the day.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
I think I kind of have two main thoughts about like how important is it that what kind of Star Wars comes out in the next 10 years. There's the, as a fan and as a podcaster, I can watch something and I have my personal ups and downs, but I like talking about the ideas behind them, and generally I think they're really high quality and I enjoy them. But I can just, if one's not for me or whatever, I don't lose any sleep over it. let it go. That's for me on a personal level. I do think on a bigger level, not every story is this huge important thing, but the general shape of what is pop culture reflecting? What is it saying about who we are? What are its values? I mean, I don't think an individual film just like flips a switch. I don't think somebody sees a production of Macbeth and they're like, I must get a broadsword and kill my way to the top. I don't think like one movie makes you act out what the movie did. But I think of things like, if you look into the Hays Code in coming into effect, the films pre-Hays Code dealt with a complicated world, much more complicated roles for women, much more honest explorations of what is sexuality and how we do it, much more honest explorations of why are we driven to crime and how do we fight it and why do we and then the proliferation of the Hays Code and creating this sort of, not that there aren't absolutely brilliant films in the 40s, 50s, 60s, all that, but the presentation of this is the rigid reality of life. Everything is about the pursuit of marriage and 2.5 kids, and anything deviant from that we can hint at, and maybe the weirdos will pick up on. But that, I think in the big picture, not just one or two movies, but if everything we're seeing has a certain idea, it does start to impact culture and change culture. And it isn't just about Star Wars. It isn't just about Filoni and Carrie Beck, but we're on the cusp of this succession of a lot of Hollywood people. And what is Hollywood going to be? And our story is going to feel disposable. Is it just going to be content, push a button, just get more so we can always have something new to watch while we're brushing our teeth? Or is it going to be about art? And for Star Wars in particular, is it going to be about some of the values that Lucas really put into it, about empathy and connection, and we're all important as individuals, but we're a part of something larger and we should care about that. And anger and selfishness feel good in the moment, but there aren't answers to our problems. Is Star Wars as a genre going to continue to share that story, which I think does impact people in the long term, is what's important to me.
Well said, and a great end to the point here, at least for me. Jen, any other things to add there?
No, that is well said. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I was going to Lilo and Stitch. I'm like, I'm not going to go on that tangent. I'm not going there.
It's the Hays Code stuff and just everything that I think that emerges in the 40s and 50s and 60s, we're still living under and trying to untangle ourselves as society from. And I think it's a fascinating way to look at it and why it is important of who is in charge. So there you go. There you go, everybody. That is our look and discussion to the two big news stories going on in Star Wars this week. More on the way. And, we'll see if breaking news. It's been a while since breaking news was hit after we've gone to the air. So we're out of here today. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Our Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast if you like being over there. The podcast is available on a lot of different spots, including iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Just search, you'll find us. Don't forget, on Sundays, we re-release episodes of Data Bank Brawl. Catch those classic episodes all over again. Merch is available, as I said up top, at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. But please check out our Fourth Wall Shop if you're watching on YouTube. The link is down below. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all those good things. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Always looking for new patrons to join our conversations over on Discord. That's where you access that. Follow me at CatNapsock or my website, if it works on your browser, because it doesn't always, at catnapsock.com. Jen, where can they find and follow you?
You can find me at Jennifer Landa, pretty much anywhere on the internet, or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
Joseph, you're busy making a film. You're busy making art. Tell us where.
I am. I was editing right up to when we had to hit record. Yes, so you can follow me on Blue Sky. You can go to my website, josephscrimshaw.com, for links to lots of stuff, including the weekly blog I do called Finish Your Monsters. And if you want to help me out finishing making this film, because everything is a constant battle of time and money, you can check out a link that's on my website to an organization called Film North that can take a one-time tax-deductible donation to the film. That's it for me.
That's it for Joseph, Jennifer, and me, and Mia Goth. We'll see you soon here on ForceCenter.